Pop Reads, and this is me telling you to smash that like and subscribe button if you enjoy the content. I'm going to keep going. Looks like we're a little more than halfway through the book. Last week we read the bathroom do's and don'ts, and now, this week, women hear me roar. I get labeled a misogynist all the time, but I'm simply pointing out that men and women are different, or at least they used to be. Women are becoming men. We've done away with gender roles as a culture. We decided smaller the chasm between male and female, the more evolved our society would be. But there's a reason you have cooters and we have peckaroos. We're different, and that's a good thing. Why is it that the same people who beat beat and celebrate different drums when it comes to culture refuses to acknowledge the biggest cultural difference on the planet, men and women? I guarantee you Japanese men, German men, and black men have a lot more in common than you average dude does with a chick. Let's face it, women are better with kids when they go a boo-boo, but when it comes time to disarm the roadside bomb, that's when the fellas come in. I have a theory that I think will put things into perspective. Look at society as a giant X. Women are on the bottom leg, men are on the other bottom leg. The date 1950. Women cooked, cleaned, and took care of the kids and mended torn dungarees. Men provided, fixed the cars, patched the roof, and warded off intruders with a baseball bat. Then the 60s arrived. Each gender moved up a little higher up the leg of the X. When women stopped shaving their armpits and men grew their hair out, women started going to work and men started taking their car to the mechanic. Now we get into the 80s. Figure we're about halfway up the X leg before the cross. Men start applying mousse and eyeliner. Women are more worried about having rock-hard abs than they are about their kids. Now the 90s. School districts are being sued for girls' rights to play boys' sports and on the football team. And being a woman trapped inside a man's body is a real medical diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma. In 2000s, we've officially hit the intersection of X. Men are metrosexuals getting mani-pedis while their wives drive a Jeep in their job as an NFL sideline reporter. If you go to the store today and you can find unisex fragrances, this idea would have never worked in the 50s. Women's perfumes came in a glass slipper and smelled like baby powder and lilacs. Men's cologne came in a ship or a football or smelled like some kind of pine cone. I grew up in the 70s with a steady diet of the reason girls play with dolls and boys play with trains is because of the man's homophobic agenda bullshit. My son loves trains. All boys love trains. They can't help it. It's in their blood. It's amazing that the train wasn't invented earlier, considering that young boys have been around for millions of years. It's heroin for them. They go berserk for it. If you put a boy alone in a room with some Thomas the Tank Engine toys and some Barbies and don't say a word, I guarantee you he'll go straight for the trains. What the F were my mom and her angry hippie friends thinking? And why haven't they apologized? Chicks are dumb and evil. We're constantly talking about the man and how they are the worst people on the planet. Our Republican 60-year-old white guys, the Dick Cheney type. I'm now sure the worst people on the planet are 20-something white chicks, like the chicks from The Hills and Hugh Hefner's ladies from The Girls Next Door. At least the evil white guy in his 50s punches a time clock every day. These chicks aren't even doing anything. They contribute nothing to society except, if we're lucky, a bootleg sex tape. If anything, they're making us dumber. I'm not saying every girl needs to aspire to be Hillary Clinton, but let's aim a bit higher than Khloe Kardashian. Chicks, especially hot ones, have learned that by looking good they can get guys to do work for them, and thus never learn anything. They're dumb and they don't need to get smarter. I had the blonde who currently play the Doublemint twins in the commercials on my podcast last year. At some point in the conversation, the movie Young Frankenstein came up. I asked the Doublemint twins if they liked Mel Brooks, and I shit you not, they asked if Mel Brooks was a dude or a chick. At that point, I wanted to commit a double murder. Yeah, that's Mel B's full name. Scary Spice also directed Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs. This happens constantly with young women. They don't know shit, and when you try to correct them, you become the weirdo grandpa. I wasn't even born when Spaceballs came out, and I wasn't born when Citizen Kane came out either, but I've still heard of Orson effing Welles. Not that Citizen Kane is half the film that Spaceballs is. Here's why guys are smarter than women. We're curious. We want to know shit. Men stared at the moon for 20,000 years and thought, what is that? How do we get there? It came out every night, hung over us and mocked us. You think you can make it here? You're not man enough. How are you going to land on me? What about the gravitational pull and the Earth's rotation? You ain't going to make it. You don't have what it takes. So guys were like, F you. We're going to the moon. And we're competitive. It's not like we're racing the Russian women to the moon. There's no chick that stares at the moon and thinks, I need to hit a golf ball off that thing. I'm not saying that curiosity gene is always practical, but I'm saying it's what motivates us. It gets guys killed, but it also gets the sound barrier broken. It's not just intelligence, it's communication. Women do not have different tones. Everything in an emergency, everything is an emergency. Men have different vocal qualities for, hey sweetie, I'm calling because you forgot your purse and there's a guy with a machete out front of the house. I've gotten the call where my wife is like, oh my God, what? We're out of Sunny D. I thought one of my kids had been dragged off by a mountain lion. This is why chicks would make horrible air traffic controllers. With them, there's no difference between a bag that has been lost in Newark and your wing is on fire. Or you'll hear them talking to their other hysterical friends. Oh my God, Sheila, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's so horrible. What happened? Did Greg die? No, she forgot to TiVo Ellen. Women in the workplace. This emotionality is why women make 70 cents for every dollar we earn. Are they pissed because they're making less? Or because they're getting paid in change? One of the many reasons women are better at home with the kids than at the workplace is because they have something called feelings. We all know women who have cried at work. I've never seen a dude cry at work, except for the Man Show rap party when a 6-foot sub rolled off the board as they were carrying it in. It was like the Trail of Tears, but with white guys. On the other hand, when the kid brings home a piece of crap paper with some elbow macaroni glued to it in the shape of a pony, no dad has ever ripped it out of their hands and said, this needs to be in a frame and we need to put it up on the fridge tonight. You see, we're better at work and they're better at scotch taping horses made of elbow macaroni to refrigerator doors. It's just good science. And no man has ever sued over a hostile work environment. The soul-sucking non-issue takes up our time and money because anybody, especially if they have been victimized in the past, can claim sexual harassment. And of course, that is the siren song of the lawyer. Anybody can sue for sexual harassment because it is completely subjective, which means the company's asshole lawyers have to make everyone jump through a bunch of bullshit hoops to protect the company from victims. Asshole lawyers. Let me give you an example. Every workplace has a cool guy and a creepy guy. Let's call the cool guy Adam. He's one of those guys where you just dig his vibe. The men in the office would like to talk cars, sports, and chicks with him over a beer. The women in the office will laugh at his jokes and will give him every detail of their last date. Don't worry, ladies, I'm not going to make a move. And if I did, you'd love it. Every office also has a creepy guy. Let's call him, put your name here. Uncomfortable in his own skin, awkward. Picture the neighbor in the 80s movie who shows up with the blind chick's apartment and offers to set up her VCR while her seeing eye dog goes nuts and she says, that's funny, Rondo, never barks at anyone. Now here's the scenario. The attractive receptionist comes in a few minutes late on Monday morning wearing tight new jeans. Cool guy comments, somebody's been working out. She replies, oh, it's just the jeans. Cool guy looks her up and down and says, you do have good jeans. She laughs and says, we're doing a shot at the Christmas party. Now, same scenario with the creepy guy. Receptionist walks in. Creepy guy says, hey, Callie, nice jeans. And she marches straight off to Human Resources to file a report. This can't be taught in any sexual harassment seminar because the women themselves don't even know it. When it comes to these seminars, why isn't there more outrage? How many hours of our lives are squandered with this shit? Why are we being treated like criminals? Why wouldn't... You wouldn't need to attend a drug and alcohol counseling class if you had no history of DUI. I've been employed since I worked at McDonald's when I was 15 and a half, 30 years ago in the workforce, and I've zero sexual harassment claims against me. So with 30 years and no strikes, I still need to throw away 2 hours of my life to satisfy corporate lawyers. And I'm an atheist, so my life is more valuable than yours. You guys are going to have a rich, fulfilling afterlife, whereas I'm going to spend eternity in a pine box with a bunch of worms trying to stuff themselves into my ass like frat boys into a telephone booth. And here's what life comes down to. Not how many years you live, but how many of those years are filled with bullshit that doesn't amount to anything to satisfy the requirements of some dickhead you'll never get the pleasure of punching in the face. If I told you were going to live 100, you'd say, awesome. If I told you were going to live 100, but 50 of those years are going to be spent taking off your shoes at airports, sitting in sobriety checkpoints along the 405, and attending sexual harassment seminars, you'd say, just kill me now. Isn't this what we're doing to ourselves? I think we should no longer keep track of human life in years, but rather in hours. Your average person has 600,000 hours on this planet, and you want me to waste 3 of mine listening to some fat post-menstrual cunt talk about something that's never happened to her? Exactly. I have no prior history with sexual harassment, thus no need for the lecture. Should I also head down to the hospital for some prenatal care and lactation counseling? Everyone should stand up and refuse to go to these things, and if they fire you, hit them with the wrongful termination lawsuit. Pit your lawyers against their lawyers in some dickhead version of Thunderdome, because that's who's to blame for this, the lawyers. As if these seminars have prevented one single lawsuit. In fact, I'd love to see the statistics on sexual harassment lawsuits filed. I guarantee there were 10 times as many after these corporate-sponsored time rapings began. All the information they cram up your ass falls into 2 categories, no duh or B, not for a promotion. But I'm going to forward this email link to the celebrity sex tape. F you, what are you going to do about it? You know a group that doesn't have to worry about being sexually harassed nowadays? Nurses. Remember in the 70s, in every episode of Three's Company, the neighbor Larry would hook up with a hot stewardess or a hot nurse? But look around. In reality of 2010, even today, stewardesses can barely back their fat asses down the aisle for the beverage service. The nurses are in worse shape than the people they're treating. Nurses are a good 80 to 100 pounds heavier than the average person. They're sweating white country gravy while lecturing you about your cholesterol. These women are so fat that their skin color changes and you can't tell what race they are. Their ethnicity changes to fat. It's either those chicks or the big-muscled, veiny gay guy. What happened to the hot nurses in the candy striper outfit? The scrubs these nurses are wearing now are why they're fat. They have no room to expand. These scrubs are essentially a painter's trap with a back pocket and a drawstring. You know how they say a fish will get as big as its bowl? The scrubs are the Pacific Ocean. It's the black bouncer in the Volvaire sweatsuit effect. Put the guy in a pair of tight Daisy Dukes, I guarantee he puts down the hoagie. If you put him in a sweatsuit, he'll just fill it out. I can't solve American obesity problem right now. From here on out, every Friday is wear your swimsuit to work day. Or I can solve it. There it is. And don't let the profession affect how hot you think a girl is. There are women who look good for their profession. That doesn't mean they're hot. Danica Patrick is hot for an indie driver. She's a 7. If she were hosting at Nobu, you wouldn't give her a second look. The sexy female athlete is an interesting phenomenon. I was watching some Entertainment Tonight type show that was profiling hotties of the Winter Olympics. They put the speed skaters and cross-country skiers in Victoria's Secret underwear and snow mucklucks. Then, as they panned up their bodies, I was thinking, hey, nice legs, good abs, she's hot. But when they got up to their faces, I saw that they were just a little bit off. It's sad, but they scrolled up the hot, toned bodies, and the faces had a dusting of Picasso. The eyes were too close together, or the nose was a little crooked. Then it all made sense. I figured out why she's an Olympic caliber athlete. If I had Heidi Klum's face at the top of that body, there's no effing way she'd ever get up for a 5 a.m. workout. Hot chicks don't have that gene. So to all the wannabe Olympic moms and dads out there, if you want your little girl to be a champion, you're one well-placed snow shovel to the face away from the gold. There's been a lot of pleasant upstick in hot teachers having sex with their students. Where were these women when I was at Walter Reed Middle School? How come kids now get Deborah LaFave and I get Mrs. Wolk, who literally had a hygiene problem. I love the idiots who complain about the double standard and say we would punish these female teachers the same as we would the male teachers. If the male gym coach has sex with a 15-year-old girl, she'll be mentally and emotionally scarred for life. The only damage to a 15-year-old boy who nails his music teacher after class is carpal tunnel from getting a high five by his buddies. Just like my grandfather used to say, if you can beat off to it afterwards, it's not a crime. This is another misguided attempt to treat the genders as if there is no difference. Little Billy who bangs the female teacher is going to be alright. Little Susie will end up working the pole at Olympic Gardens and won't be going by the name Susie anymore. Stripper names. Stripper names are out of control. Remember back in the day when you'd go to the strip club and strippers were named Candy? You knew her real name was like Shally or Brenda, but Candy sounded sexier. Now when you go to the strip club, you ask the stripper her name and she'll say charisma, allure, or emotion. They used to be sexy names, but now they're just making shit up. I'm gonna go to the champagne room with cubic zirconia, and you feel like an asshole because you have to use it. Would you care for another Coke Zero and Captain Morgan, Francia? And when they ask for your name, you always give them your real name, Jason. We should be the ones giving the fake names. I feel like we've got more to lose. You're at an Outback Steakhouse with the missus celebrating your 12th anniversary, and here comes drunken charisma. Jason, I didn't recognize you with your fly-up. Don't you remember me from Bob's Classy Ladies? You bought me $1,300 worth of champagne pale? What would be the harm in giving them, or what would be the harm in them giving us their real name? Oh, your real name is Nancy? Let the stalking begin. And would you really need to stalk someone who works in their underpants at a place that never closes? I'm just saying, why bother stalking Julia Roberts if you could show up at her work, pop in a Warrant CD, and give her $20 and she'd get naked and hop on your lap? Fellas, from now on, we're going to start using fake names. Next time you go to Jumbo's Clown Room and the stripper says, I'm Essence, what's your name, honey? You say, I'm Colonel Duke Lacrosse. How's it feel, bitch? Things chicks are into. Chicks are into fashion. My wife watches those Project Runway type shows where the model is strutting down the catwalk and Rachel Zoe is going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, about the dress. Lynette will give me the stink eye because I say to the TV, I could do that. I could put that dress together. I wouldn't want to put that dress together, but if you gave me the sewing machine and some taffeta, I can knock that shit out easily. It's true, making a car or being an architect is much more difficult than fashion, but everybody goes nuts for these fairies. Speaking of dresses, let's break down the myth of the $3,500 wedding dress. Every woman pulls this shit on her soon-to-be husband. Inevitably, he'll complain about the cost of the dress that she is going to only wear it once, and she'll reply that it'll be an heirloom that her daughter will wear on her wedding day. Really? Then why aren't you wearing your mom's dress? You know, when she pulled the same shit on her dad in '75, right? And the fashion was going out of style from year to year and season to season. What are the chances that the burnt orange crushed velvet shower curtain your mom wore in the mid-70s is going to be all the rage 30 to 40 years later? And what's with women and the dress they can wear only once? My wife will be like, I wore that to Howard Stern's wedding. I can't be seen it again. First off, I don't remember the dress you wore to Howard Stern's wedding. And everyone else there was shit-faced. You're the only one who knows what that you wore that dress. Second, this is insanity. You just paid $900 for 3 yards of cloth and sequins. You think the queen from Project Runway made, and that was really stitched together by some husky Nicaraguan mother or five of her for five or for a quarter an hour. Or a mother of five for a quarter an hour. The true cost of this dress is $38.50, but you're dipping into the kids' college fund to buy it because it's nearly identical dress that was good 2 months ago is now expired. This is the argument I would make to all the feminists who get pissed when someone points out that men are better at math than women. Crunch those numbers. $900 for a dress you're going to wear once, or the $75 we pay to rent a tux. And women won't fill us in on what a size 14 dress is versus a size 2 dress. It's their own little secret language, so we're constantly confused. Why can't they just use inches like we do? For us, it's easy. If a guy has a 32-inch waist, he's slim. If he's got a 55-inch waist, he's a lard ass. If a chick has a size 8, I have no idea if she's Kate Moss or Kate Smith. These things, they're doing these to keep us off guard. It's sort of like what Europe does to the metric system. I heard an interesting study once. Plus size models are usually a size 12 through 14, and the average woman is a size 14. So the average woman walking around the United States is the upper end of what we would call a plus size model, except she's got an ugly face. Of course, they wouldn't want the models to be this way. These girls always say that they didn't want to get into modeling. Someone signed them up for the International Model Search Competition, or they went along with a friend who was auditioning for a Maybelline campaign, and the casting agent pointed them and said, they'll stay. They'll say anything but admit they looked in the mirror or their 15th birthday and saw a piping hot chick staring back and thought, I could really cash in on this great genetics hand that was dealt to me. The reason you know their story is bullshit is because they wanted to stay in school and become veterinarians, they would have done it. There's no federal mandate that says all hot chicks must model, and of course the ugly male version of this is stand-up comic. He can't admit he thinks he's the funniest mother effer on the planet, so when you ask him how he got into comedy, he says he went out to a club and some friends pushed him up on stage. What kind of club is this where you can take a guy who's never held a microphone in his life, push him up on stage, and have him do a set? The few times I've seen a guy take the stage and wasn't supposed to be on it, he was immediately dragged off by a large Samoan man. And can't you just say no? What if your buddy signed you up to do some gay porn? Would you just shrug your shoulders and say, well, I guess I better start lubing up? The reluctant comedian and the reluctant model would be perfect for each other because her Playboy profile says she loves a guy with a sense of humor. My ass. I've seen these guys you're with. You're hooked up with Lorenzo Lamas, bitch. You love a guy with a shaved chest and a spray tan who talks about himself in the third person. Every time I interview one of these 6-foot blondes and you say, you must have driven the boys crazy in high school. They always give me the sob story about being awkward and not being asked to the prom. I'll buy that with the Sarah Silverman types or the chick who played Juno. But if you're Cameron Diaz or Jessica Biel, you're either lying or went to a school full of fags. And apparently modeling is a miserable life. I remember hearing a few years back Tyra Banks talking about going to France when she was 16 and how lonely it was and blah, blah, blah. F you. You know where I went when I was a teenager. The Lowry Seasoned Salt Factory in Eagle Rock. I left with a shirt full of tears and a packet of taco seasoning. I never left the county, much less the country. Let me take a minute to officially nominate Tyra for Blowhard of the Century. I train with a guy named Terry Claiborne. He is boxing trainer for the Stars at this gym. He has signed pictures of some of the clients thanking him. Matt Damon thanked him. Terry, Nicolas Cage thanked him. Terry, Joe Rogan thanked Terry, but not Tyra. While everyone else had a picture of themselves with their arm around Terry saying thank you, she brought in her own picture of her just looking all greased up in a bikini with the following message. Thanks for making me strong, confident, and powerful. Can't nobody F with me now. And she signed it Butterfly after Muhammad Ali. This is the height of a blowhard narcissism. First, I'm sure the Butterfly nickname was self-applied. This is something hacks do. They attach themselves to people with actual talent in hopes of some reflected glory, but more egregiously. Her thank you did an e-brake slide, 180 turn, and right back on her. I wonder if she does this everywhere. What about the dry cleaners? You guys are the best. Thanks for making me look so smoking hot in the blouses you cleaned. When Tyra isn't thanking herself while thanking someone else, she's doing a hidden camera sting in a fat suit. This just in, being fat and ugly makes your life harder. I know, shocking. Why is it always the hottest actress and models telling us how beauty comes from within? I used to go insane over the NBC's The More You Know PSAs, in which Sports Illustrated swimsuit models Molly Sims says, what makes you special is not what you wear or who you hang out with. Being proud of yourself is really what counts. Thank you, hot, skinny, blonde, successful actress. I'm sure the chunky teenager behind the counter at Quiznos in Tustin heard you loud and clear. Do you have no sense of hypocrisy? You're only asked to make the damn PSA because you're hot. We'd have no idea who you were if we didn't want to F you. If I've learned anything from the supermodels, it's that as long as you feel sexy, men will be magically attracted to you. It doesn't matter if you're a pockmark and weigh 550 pounds and 6'5", and 65 of those pounds are neck goiter. It's all about how you feel. We've all bought into this retarded adage about beauty coming from within. Has anyone ever stopped and thought, what an asinine statement that is. I like cars, but if somebody ever asked me what makes a 69 Ferrari Daytona so beautiful and I said the engine block, I'd be a lying asshole. Women also perpetuate this retarded myth where I'm wearing lingerie for me. It makes me feel beautiful. Then why do you wear it around the house why don't you wear it when you're alone? It's such bullshit. Everything you do is for someone else. If I heard women were attracted to a fecal matter swastika on my forehead, I'd be sticking my index finger up my ass shortly after I found out that information. So since you're clearly doing it for us, let me give you a list of things we're not into. Giant hoop earrings. Who is this for? This is for tribal ornamentation. We're not Kalahari Bushmen, and it is going to work out terribly for you when you get in a fight and the bitch at the club uses these as a handle to smash your face into the bars. If you're going to do earrings, just go with the simple stud in the lobe and that's it. We're not into the weird piercings either. We don't like the dumbbell going through the nipple, the spike in the tongue, or the clitoral hood piercing, or the little stud in the nose that looks like a giant blackhead, or a clove pushed into a charisma ham. Tattoos. Tattoos are wasted effort. Every time I look at Playboy, I want to shout at Hugh Hefner that we want the girl next door, not the whore. The college student looking for an extra $100 for books, not the skank who gets teamed on the pinball machine. Every girl in the magazine now has fake tits. It's thinner than the coke rails she's doing in the bathroom and at the club, and has a tramp stamp. Also, tattoos have totally ruined period porn. And by period porn, I mean that it's set in a different time period, not some disgusting fetish you're supposed to be Cleopatra. I sincerely doubt she had a Tasmanian devil on her left ass cheek. Fingernails. We almost never notice your fingernails, and that's a good thing. It means that you've either done nothing or gone with something simple, subtle, polish. When we do notice your nails, it's because you look like Edward Scissorhands, got a job at Earl Sheb. No guy is attracted to a 3-inch press-on nail and unicorn embolized on them. I would love to build a giant digital counter billboard like the one that says they use to keep track of the deficit, showing the amount of time women have spent on their nails. I'd build a billboard next to it and say, guys giving a shit about chicks' nails. The first one would have millions of hours registered, and the only thing on the second billboard would be pigeons. Big jewelry. How do you define big jewelry? Like a Supreme Court defines pornography? I'll know it when I hear it. If I can hear you getting out of the car from inside the restaurant, you're wearing too much of it. This isn't the Old West. We don't need to hear your spurs jingle, jangle, jingle. Though it is nice that we can hear you coming down the hallway when we're on the computer looking at porn. The jewelry acts like a cowbell and gives us a 15-second heads up, so close the laptop. I'm not interested in Mrs. T. Arms. Chicks never stop talking about Madonna's arms and Michelle Obama's arms. I've never met a guy who's given a shit about a chick's arms. Don't get me wrong, guys aren't into fat arms, but fat arms are usually attached to fat women who have fat asses. Now back to Madonna. No guy wants to be with a chick who has arms like a junkie on a crew team. Hair. Big hair has been out since the Reagan used the DeLorean to beat the Russian hockey team in the Olympics. My recollection of the 80s is a little fuzzy, but for some reason a lot of hot chicks still do their hair like they're going to party in 1989. We don't want a crispy hair. We want to be able to run our fingers through it without breaking them. There's also that weird multicolored hair on the skunk stripes, just like the fingernails. We don't want anything that draws attention to itself. A little highlighting is one thing, but we don't want your hair to look like a bag of Skittles. And short haircuts. This is a thing chicks like on other chicks. Girls always tell other girls how cute they look with short haircut. But they're really thinking, that's one bitch I ain't gonna have to compete with. I've never heard one of my male friends say, that girl would be hot if only her hair looked like Mo Howard's. Makeup. By all means, put on a little foundation, but the closer to natural, the better. True. Nobody wants to be seen entering the club with the sad hobo clown from the Velvet Painting. Again, just like the nails, the hair coloring and the muscles, moderation is the key. We don't want the caked on mascara that makes you look like a crazy Armenian bank teller. We're not into fake painted on eyebrows or the two-tone lipstick where you line the outside of your mouth with a Sharpie. Just give me a woman in natural form. I don't need the rodeo clown makeup, the giant hoop earrings, the tats, the piercing, or any of that other shit. It's not the Mexican lottery show. I don't need that much going on. Relationships. Let me close out this chapter by making the best case I can for how men and women are and always will be, inherently different. One need look no further than the bedroom. Men take their sexual mentality and apply it toward women. A guy thinks, I love it hard and fast. I'd like to be yanked off by the paint can shaker with tits. So she must love it that way too. Wrong. When it comes to sex, men and women are as different as dogs and cats. Think about how you are with your dog. You're rough and tumble with it. You grab it by the ears, chase it around, play tug of war, and roll it over on its back and slap its belly. You go after the dog. A cat has to come to you. It has to be in the mood. It'll rub itself against you, your shin, when it effing feels like it. And think about when you pet a cat. They will apply pressure where they want you to move on their body, so you're rubbing whichever part they want. And it has to be slow and rhythmic. This is why cats will jump onto the fridge when a toddler bounds into the room. They don't know how to be gentle. Ladies, I know it sounds like I was a little hard on you in this chapter, but anytime you start feeling sorry for yourselves, remember, you're worse drivers than us, but yet you pay less for car insurance. And you're worse people than us, but yet you live 5 years longer. Boy, is he a genius. Oh yeah, next week, it's going to bring up some about the fat cats in Washington. So until then, I will see you next time. Smash that subscribe button.